Softly, welcome. This is not a story about success. It is a story about a moment that almost ended everything. He looked normal from the outside. He worked, replied, and smiled when people spoke to him. But inside, something was getting quiet. Not calm quiet, but empty quiet. He had been strong for a long time. He had been responsible for a long time. At first it felt like pride. Then it started to feel like pressure. He did not fall in one day. He faded in small pieces. Morning after morning, he got up. He did what he had to do. He finished tasks. He kept promises. But the reason behind the effort was disappearing, like a light losing power slowly. He told himself it was just stress. He said it would pass. He drank coffee and made plans. He tried to push forward with discipline, but discipline can carry you only so far. When meaning is gone, discipline becomes heavy. Some days he felt tired before he even started. Not because his body was weak, because his mind was tired of trying, tired of holding everything together alone. He did not talk about it. He did not want attention. He wanted to be the person who can handle life, even when it hurts. He started to notice a pattern. He felt worst when he was alone, not because he needed noise, because silence made him honest. One evening he came home and sat down. He stared at the wall longer than he wanted to. His phone was in his hand. He did not scroll. He just held it, like a person waiting for something that never comes. Then a thought appeared, very quietly. What if I just stopped trying? It was not dramatic. That was what scared him. He knew that sentence. He had heard it before. Same place, same tired mind, same feeling of being stuck. And suddenly the truth became clear. He was not afraid of failing anymore. He was afraid of continuing, because continuing felt like endless wait. Wait with no reward, no peace, no arrival. He stood up and walked to the kitchen. He poured water and leaned on the counter. The room was quiet. His breathing was loud. He asked himself, "What is happening to me?" He did not like the answer. He was losing hope, slowly, quietly. Hope was not crashing. Hope was leaving without a goodbye. He went back to his desk. He opened a blank page. He wrote one question. Why do I want to quit? He stared at the words for a long time. Then he typed the first honest answer. Because I'm tired. He paused and kept going. Because I don't feel proud anymore. Because I feel alone. Because I don't see the point. When he read it, his chest tightened. Not because he was weak, because he finally stopped pretending, even if only to himself. He expected that honesty to break him, but it did something else. It made the problem clearer. And clarity is a kind of relief. He wrote one more line slowly. Maybe I don't want to quit my life. He stared again. Then he added the next line. Maybe I want to quit the way I'm living it. That sentence felt true. It was not an excuse. It was a direction. He realized he was not lazy. Lazy people do not fight like this. He was drained. He was carrying pressure that never rested. Pressure to improve. Pressure to be perfect. Pressure to never slow down, even when his heart needed a pause. He leaned back and closed his eyes. He asked a new question. What do I need right now? Not what do I want, but what do I need? The answer was simple. Rest, not sleep only. Rest in the mind. He realized he had been running without recovery, like breathing out without breathing in. That is not strength. That is slow collapse. He opened his eyes and looked around. Everything in the room looked fine, but his inner life was not fine, and he could not ignore it anymore. He whispered to himself very quietly, I need to change something. He did not know what to change yet. But he knew this was not the end. He stood up and turned off the light. He lay down. His mind still felt heavy. But one thing had shifted. He was no longer hiding from the truth. And that truth was the first step. He almost quit because he felt empty. But the story begins here. Because a single thought can change a whole direction. And soon one thought will stop him, not by shouting at him, by guiding him, step by step. Morning came without kindness, not loud, not tragic, just the same day waiting. He got up and moved slowly, not because he wanted to be lazy, because his mind felt like it was carrying sand, heavy even when nothing happened. He washed his face and looked in the mirror. His eyes looked normal, but his focus felt thin, like it could tear at any moment. Coffee warmed his hands. It did not warm his thoughts. He opened his phone and saw messages, small demands, small pressure. He replied the way he always did, fast, polite, controlled. Then he paused. Because he noticed how automatic it felt, he was living like a machine, efficient but not alive. At work, he completed tasks like always. People trusted him. They praised him for being consistent. He smiled back and kept going. Inside, the same question returned. What is this for? He tried to drown it with action, but action without meaning becomes noise. During a break, he sat alone. He watched people talk. They looked tired too, but they still looked connected to something. He wondered what he was missing. Then he realized it. He had stopped giving himself space. Space to feel, space to recover. He treated rest like a reward, not like a need. He treated weakness like a mistake, not like a human signal. When the day ended, he walked home slowly. He did not want to rush into silence. Silence made his thoughts louder. And lately his thoughts were not gentle. He passed a small park and sat on a bench. The sky was calm. The air was cool. The world looked normal. That normal feeling made his emptiness stand out, like a missing color. A child ran across the grass, laughing, falling, standing again. The child did not look afraid of being imperfect. He watched and felt something twist inside him. He remembered being younger, when small progress felt like joy. Now even progress felt like duty, and duty without joy becomes a cage. His phone buzzed, a message from an old friend. Long time. You okay? He stared at it. His fingers wanted to type, I'm fine. That was his habit. But he remembered last night. He was done lying to himself. He typed, Not really, I'm tired. He hesitated, then sent it. His heart beat fast. Like honesty was risky. Then relief came, like air entering a closed room. The friend replied quickly, Want to talk? No pressure. No pressure. Those words felt soft. Not advice, not judgment, just space. He agreed to meet soon. He put the phone away and sat still. He noticed his shoulders were tight. His jaw was tight. Even his breathing felt like work. He realized he had been bracing himself every day. He asked himself a quiet question. What am I so afraid of? The answer was not one thing. It was many small fears stacked together. Fear of wasting time. Fear of falling behind. Fear of being ordinary. Fear of disappointing people. He stood up and walked home. The streetlights felt softer than usual. At his desk, he opened the blank page again. He wrote one line. I feel trapped. He stared at it. Then he added another line. I don't want to live like this forever. That sentence hit him hard, because it felt true. He had been trying to fix life by pushing harder. But pushing harder was the problem. He needed a different kind of strength, not force, balance, recovery. He sat back and listened to his own mind. This time he did not fight the sadness. He tried to understand it. and understanding made it less scary. A thought came, calm and clear. Do not decide your life in your lowest moment. He read it again. It felt like a rule. He was trying to make a final decision while exhausted. That was dangerous. He wrote it down. Don't choose the ending while you are depleted. Then another thought followed. If I quit now, I quit as the person I am now. He understood it immediately. A new place would not fix an old mind. Quitting would remove pressure for a while, but his inner voice would still be there. He looked at the page and wrote one more line. So I need to change the way I carry life. He did not need a perfect plan. He needed a small practice, something repeatable, something gentle. He wrote 3 promises. 1 honest break every day. 1 small step, even if it's only 10 minutes. 1 kind sentence to myself when I feel weak. His mind wanted to laugh at 10 minutes, but his body accepted it. 10 minutes was small. That was why it could work. He realized he had been trying to live in extremes. All or nothing. Strong or broken. Win or fail. That thinking was poisoning him, because life is not a test. Life is a practice, and practice is built in small steps. That night he prepared for tomorrow differently, not with pressure, with one quiet agreement. I will keep 1 promise. He turned off the light and lay down. His problems were still there, but his mind felt a little safer because he had stopped trying to solve everything at once. He breathed slowly and whispered 1 line. Just 10 minutes. That's enough. And for the first time in a long time, he fell asleep without hating himself. The next day he woke up and did not chase a big change. He did not promise to become a new person. He only promised 1 small thing. 10 minutes, 1 step. That sounded too small to matter, but small is what he could trust right now. He sat on the edge of the bed and breathed, not to fix his life, just to begin the day without panic, just to start gently. His mind tried to rush ahead. It showed him future worries like a fast movie. Bills, deadlines, expectations, old mistakes, new fears. He noticed the pattern. His mind was always time traveling, always running to tomorrow, always judging yesterday. He asked himself a quiet question. Where am I right now? The answer was simple. In this room, breathing, alive. He stood up and made coffee. He did not scroll his phone right away. That was already different. A small break from the old habit. He opened his notebook. He wrote 1 line. 10 minutes, 1 task, no pressure. He read it twice. He knew his mind would try to bargain. It would say, do more. Or it would say, do nothing. His mind liked extremes. So he made the rule clear. Only 10 minutes. At work, the day moved as usual. People asked questions. He answered. He completed tasks. From the outside, nothing changed. Inside, he was watching himself carefully. He was looking for one thing, the moment he usually collapses. It came in the afternoon. A small mistake happened. Not a disaster, just a normal human mistake. But his mind reacted fast. It whispered, see, you're failing. It whispered, you can't even do this right. He felt the familiar heat in his chest. The old urge appeared. Quit, stop, disappear. He noticed it and stayed still for a second. He did not fight the urge. He did not obey it either. He simply watched it. Then he remembered the rule. Don't decide your life in your lowest moment. He whispered it in his mind. Like a hand holding a shaking shoulder, he took 1 slow breath, then another. He fixed the mistake. Not perfectly, just enough. Then he moved on. That moment was small, but it was new. Usually a mistake would destroy his mood for hours. Today, it lasted minutes. He did not celebrate. He simply noticed. After work, he went home. His body was tired, but he did not feel crushed, because he had not been fighting himself all day. He had been guiding himself. He entered his room and looked at the clock. This was the moment. The 10 minutes, the promise. His mind tried to escape. It said, "Not today." It said, "You're too tired." It said, "Tomorrow will be better." He recognized those sentences. They were the same excuses, wearing different clothes. He sat down anyway. He opened the simplest task he could do. Something small, something clear. He set a timer for 10 minutes. He promised himself one thing. When the timer ends, I can stop. No guilt. He began. At first, his mind resisted. It felt like a child being forced to sit. He wanted distraction. He wanted comfort. He wanted to run, but he stayed. He worked slowly, not impressively, not with fire, just with presence. Then something strange happened. Around minute 6, his mind became quieter, not because the task was fun, because his mind stopped arguing. His mind realized it was safe. 10 minutes was not a trap. 10 minutes was not punishment. It was practice. The timer ended. He stopped immediately. That was important. He kept the deal. He stood up and felt something soft inside him. Not joy, not pride like a trophy, more like dignity. He had kept a promise, a small one. His mind tried to say, "It's nothing," but his body disagreed, because for him it was not nothing. It was control. It was proof that he could move without pressure. It was proof that he could act without fear. He sat on the bed and looked at his hands. He thought about how many days he had lost to self-hate. Not because he was weak, because he was harsh. He had been trying to build a life with a weapon, his own voice. Now he was trying something else, a quieter tool, patience, small steps. He remembered the child in the park, running, falling, standing again. Children do not call themselves useless when they fall. They simply stand up. He whispered a new sentence. One small step is still a step. He wrote it down, not as a quote, as a rule for survival, as a rule for rebuilding. That night he felt the urge to quit again, but it felt different. It was not a command. It was a feeling passing through. He watched it like a cloud. He did not chase it. He did not become it. He let it move on. He realized something important. Quitting is sometimes the mind asking for relief. So he gave himself relief before his mind had to scream. He took a shower. He ate slowly. He turned off his phone earlier than usual. Not because he was disciplined, because he was protecting his peace, because peace was becoming a priority. Before sleep, he opened his notebook one more time. He wrote a short reflection. Today I did not fix my life, but I did not destroy it either. That sentence felt honest. It felt real. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in a long time, he believed something. Maybe he did not need a big breakthrough. Maybe he needed small proof. Proof, day after day, that he could continue, not by forcing himself, by becoming steady, by becoming kind. And slowly, that thought began to grow. The thought that would stop him when quitting feels close again. Not a loud thought, a quiet one he can hold, like a handrail in the dark. The week moved forward with small wins, not big achievements, not a new life, just 10 minutes again and again. And one honest break each day. Some days were easy. Some days felt like walking through mud. But he noticed something. He was starting to trust himself a little, not because he felt strong, because he kept small promises. He met his friend at a quiet place. No loud music, no busy crowd, just space. They sat with coffee and talked slowly. At first, he stayed careful. He tried to sound normal. He tried to keep it light. But a friend looked at him and said one line, "You don't have to perform here." That sentence opened something. He felt it in his chest. He took a breath and spoke honestly. He said he felt tired. He said he felt empty. He said he was close to quitting. His friend did not panic. His friend did not judge. He listened. That was the gift. When someone listens well, you start hearing yourself clearly. He heard how harsh he had been with his own mind. He heard how long he carried pressure alone. He heard how little rest he allowed himself. His friend asked a simple question. When did you stop being proud of small progress? He wanted to answer quickly, but he had to think. He remembered years ago, when finishing a small task felt good. Now finishing a small task felt normal, and anything less felt like failure. He realized he had changed the rules. He had turned life into an exam. Pass or fail, win or waste. That system had no kindness, no room for being human. His friend said something simple. You're not tired of work. You're tired of judging yourself. That line hit him hard, because it was true. Work was heavy, but judgment was heavier. When they said goodbye, his friend gave one suggestion. Not a big plan, just one practice. Talk to yourself like you talk to someone you love. He nodded, but inside he resisted, because kindness felt unnatural to him. He thought kindness would make him weak. He thought kindness would make him lazy. But he also knew something. His harshness was not making him better. It was making him smaller. It was making him tired. That night he tried the practice. He made a mistake in a small task. The old voice appeared fast. You're stupid. You're slow. You never learn. He froze for a moment. Then he remembered the suggestion. He asked himself a new question. What would I say to a friend in this moment? He imagined a friend making the same mistake. He would not attack the friend. He would say, it's okay. He would say, fix it slowly. He would say, you're learning. So he tried it on himself. He whispered, it's okay. He felt strange, like he was speaking a new language. But he kept going. He fixed the mistake. He moved on. Then the next test came, a harder one. The weekend arrived, and with the weekend came silence. Weekends used to feel like freedom. Now they felt like exposure. No task to hide behind. No meetings to distract him. Just him and his thoughts. He woke up on Saturday and felt the familiar emptiness. The old urge returned. Quit. Stop. Stay in bed. Disappear. He sat up and breathed. He remembered his rule. No final decisions in low moments. He did not argue with the urge. He treated it like a signal that he needed care, not punishment. He asked himself one honest question. What do I need right now? The answer was not productivity. It was connection. So he did something small. He went outside, not to achieve anything, just to be in the world. He walked without headphones. He let the air touch his face. He noticed simple things. A dog pulling a leash. A couple holding hands. A person waiting at a bus stop. Normal life. Quiet life. He realized something. Life was still happening around him. He had been inside his mind for too long. He had been living in a small room in his head. He sat on a bench and watched people pass. His mind tried to rush into old worries, but he stayed with the present, one breath at a time. Then he remembered a moment from childhood, learning to ride a bicycle. He fell. He scraped his knee. He cried. Then he tried again. No one called him useless. No one said, you're a failure. They said, try again. They said, you'll get it. He realized something painful. He had been kinder to his child self than his adult self. As an adult, he expected perfection. He expected constant strength. But real strength is not constant. It rises and falls. Real strength is coming back, again and again. That evening, he wrote in his notebook, "One day does not define me. One mistake does not define me. One low moment does not define my future." He read those sentences slowly. He did not try to feel inspired. He tried to feel steady. Steady was enough. Then late at night, he felt the urge again. A quiet voice. What if you still fail? What if this is pointless? He listened. Then he answered calmly, "Maybe I will fail, but I will not abandon myself." That sentence landed differently because it was not about winning. It was about loyalty. It was about staying. He realized what quitting really was for him. Quitting was leaving himself, leaving the person inside who needed help, leaving the tired version of him behind. And suddenly he saw the deeper truth, the thought that was slowly becoming stronger. I can't quit on myself, not because he was special, because that was the one promise that mattered most, the promise that creates a future. He closed his notebook and lay down. His life was not perfect, but his mind was changing. The way he carried life was changing. He was learning to continue without violence. He was learning to rebuild without hate. And the thought was getting clearer. A simple thought that would stop him when quitting feels close. Not with pressure, with compassion, with a steady hand, with one quiet decision. The next few days tested him more, not with big disasters, with small pressure that never ends. A message from a manager, a sudden deadline, a small conflict, a long queue of tasks. These were normal things, but normal things felt dangerous when his mind was tired. He used to handle pressure by becoming harder. He would tighten his jaw and push. He would remove rest. He would remove joy. He would call that strength, but he knew where that road led. So he tried something new. He tried to stay soft without becoming weak. That balance felt unfamiliar, like walking with a new body. One morning, he woke up and felt the old heaviness. The first thought was not motivation. It was doubt. What's the point? He sat up and breathed slowly. He did not fight the doubt. He treated it like weather. Here today, gone later. He remembered his rule. No final decisions in low moments. Then he remembered the deeper promise. I will not abandon myself. That promise became his anchor. Not a mood, a decision, a steady decision. He went to work and moved through the day. He kept his 10 minutes. He took his honest break. He spoke to himself with a little more care. But the real test arrived at night, a hard night. He received a message about a mistake, not a small mistake, a mistake that could cost him time, could cost him money. His stomach dropped. His chest tightened. The old voice came back fast. See? You ruin things. You're not enough. You should stop. He sat down and held his phone. His hands were cold. His mind tried to jump to the worst ending. It showed him shame. It showed him failure. It showed him people losing respect. He almost followed that movie. He almost believed it. Then he paused. He looked at the room. He heard his own breathing. He noticed his body reacting. He said one sentence softly. This is a low moment. He said it again. This is a low moment. That naming created space between him and the fear. He did not deny the problem. He did not act like it was fine. He simply refused to collapse. He refused to make the problem mean his life is over. He wrote down the facts. What happened? What needs to be fixed? What is the next step? Small steps, concrete steps. His mind wanted drama. He gave it structure. He made one call. He sent one message. He asked one person for help. That was new for him. Asking for help felt like weakness. But he was learning a different truth. Refusing help is not strength. It is isolation. He sat back after sending the message. His heart still beat fast. But he felt something else too. He felt proud. Not because the mistake happened, because he stayed with himself during the mistake. He did not insult himself. He did not disappear. He stayed. That was progress. The next day he met his friend again. He told the story. He explained how close he was to quitting in that moment. His friend listened carefully. Then his friend said a line that stayed. When you are tired, you think quitting is the answer. But quitting is only an escape from pain. You don't need escape. You need a safer way to carry pain. That line was simple, but it changed the direction of his thinking. Because it was true. Pain will come. Stress will come. Mistakes will come. The goal is not a pain-free life. The goal is a life where pain does not destroy you. A life where pain does not take your identity. He went home and thought about it deeply. He realized his biggest fear was not failing. His biggest fear was being stuck in failure forever. He feared that one mistake would define him, so he wrote a new thought on the page. One moment is not my whole story. He repeated it slowly. One moment is not my whole story. He practiced it like a skill, not like a quote. Because the mind does not change with one reading. The mind changes with repetition. He started noticing something. His urge to quit came most when he felt ashamed. Shame made him want to disappear. Shame made him want to erase himself. So he needed a response to shame, not a big response. A small one he can do every time. A practice. He chose 3 steps. Name the moment. Breathe slowly. Do one small repair. Not to fix everything. Just to repair something. Even cleaning the desk. Even replying honestly. Even taking a short walk. Small repairs build a sense of control. He tried it the next time he felt shame. He spilled something and made a mess. His mind tried to call him useless. He stopped and named it. This is shame. Then he breathed. Then he cleaned the mess calmly. No anger, no self-insults, just a repair. It felt strange, but it also felt powerful because he was teaching his mind a new rule. Shame is not a command. Shame is a feeling that passes. He began to see the pattern clearly. The urge to quit was not his true desire. It was his mind begging for relief, relief from pressure, relief from judgment, relief from fear. So he started giving himself relief in small ways. A better sleep time, a quieter evening, a walk without the phone, a meal eaten slowly, a conversation with someone safe. He did not change everything. He changed one small thing each week. Those small changes did not look impressive, but they made life feel possible again. One night he sat with his notebook and asked a hard question. What am I really trying to prove? He wrote the honest answer. I'm trying to prove I'm worth something. That sentence made him silent, because it was deep. He realized he had been living like his value was a result, like his worth depended on performance. That belief is exhausting, because results are never permanent. So he wrote a new belief. My worth is not a score. My worth is not a perfect week. My worth is not my productivity. He did not fully believe it yet, but he wrote it anyway. Because sometimes you write the truth before you feel it. Sometimes you practice truth until it becomes natural. He closed the notebook and sat quietly. He felt tired, but the tiredness was different now. It was not hopeless tired. It was the tiredness of someone learning. Learning a new way to live, He whispered one sentence before sleep. I will not abandon myself. Not as a promise for good days, as a promise for hard days. Because hard days are when the promise matters. And he was becoming the kind of person who keeps it. By now he had proof. Not proof that life was easy. Proof that he could stay. The urge to quit still visited him, but it no longer felt like a final order. It felt like a warning light, a sign that something needed care. One evening, he came home later than usual. His body felt heavy. His mind felt crowded. Too many voices, deadlines, expectations, old comparisons, old fears. He dropped his keys on the table and stood still. The room was quiet, but his head was not. He felt the old urge rise. Stop trying. He closed his eyes. He named it. This is a low moment. He breathed slowly. He did not say, I'm fine. He said, I'm overwhelmed. That honesty changed the feeling, because overwhelmed is real, fine is a mask, overwhelmed is truth. He sat down and opened his notebook, not to plan, to listen, to understand what his mind was asking for. He wrote one line, what is hurting me right now? He expected a big answer, but the answer was simple. I feel like I'm behind. He wrote it again. I feel like I'm behind. That was the wound, not the tasks, the feeling of being late to life. He started thinking about where that feeling came from. He remembered being young, watching others succeed early. He remembered comparing his path to their path. He remembered telling himself he must catch up. Catching up became his identity. And identities are heavy. He realized something painful. He was not chasing his goals anymore. He was chasing relief from shame, and shame is never satisfied. He wrote another question. What would be enough for me? He stared at it. Then he wrote the honest answer. I don't know. That line looked small, but it was huge, because he had been living for years without knowing what enough means. If you don't know what enough is, you will always feel behind. He sat quietly and let that truth settle. Then he wrote a new definition. Enough is when I can breathe. Enough is when I can sleep. Enough is when I can live without hating myself. Those were not luxury goals. Those were survival goals. He saw how his old life treated peace like a bonus. But peace is not a bonus. Peace is fuel. Without it, everything breaks. The next day, he tried a new experiment. Not a big change. One honest boundary. He stopped working at a fixed time. Not perfectly, but clearly. When the time came, he closed the laptop. His mind resisted. It said, "You're falling behind." He answered calmly, "I'm protecting my mind so I can continue tomorrow." That sentence felt strange, but it felt wise. He started using that sentence more. When he rested, he reminded himself, rest is not quitting, rest is preparation. When he took a break, he reminded himself, breaks are not weakness. Breaks are maintenance, like charging a battery. A few days later, another test arrived. A person criticized him sharply, not gently, not fairly. The words were cold. They hit him like a slap. His first reaction was shame. His second reaction was anger. The old urge returned again. Quit. Disappear. Never try again. He walked outside and stood under the night air. His hands shook a little. He wanted to defend himself. He wanted to attack back. Then he remembered something important. A low moment is not a safe place to decide. So he did the practice. He named the feeling. This is shame. This is anger. This is fear. He breathed slowly. He looked at the sky for a moment. Then he asked a steady question. What is the next small repair? He did not need to win. He needed to stay stable. He decided to respond later. Not now. He went home and wrote 3 lines. What happened? What I can learn? What I will not accept. That last line mattered because he realized he had been accepting too much. Too much pressure, too much disrespect, too much self-punishment. He had been acting like his only job was to endure. But life is not only endurance. Life is also direction. He was allowed to choose what he carries. He was allowed to choose what he says yes to. That night he felt tired in a clean way. Not confused tired, not trapped tired, tired from choosing stability. He lay down and thought about the thought that had been growing, the thought that kept him from quitting. It was not try harder, it was not be strong, it was simpler and deeper. I cannot abandon myself. He understood it in a new way now. Abandoning himself was not only quitting work, it was quitting his own care, quitting his own dignity. It was living like he is a tool, not a human. So he decided something clearly. No matter what happens, I will stay with myself, even when I'm messy, even when I'm slow, even when I'm afraid. The next morning he woke up and felt lighter, not because problems were gone, because he was no longer fighting himself. He was partnering with himself. He started seeing his life differently, not as a race, as a practice, a long practice. And practice needs patience. Practice needs recovery. Practice needs a kind voice, not a cruel one. He went to work and did his tasks. He was not perfect, but he was present. He was steady. Later that day, he received a small good message. A fix worked. A problem was solved. It was not a huge win, but he smiled. A real smile. Because he knew what the win was. The win was not the result. The win was that he did not quit on himself. He stayed long enough to see the day improve. He came home and wrote 1 line. I'm still here. He looked at that sentence for a long time. It looked simple, but it carried everything. Because being still here is how a life changes. Not in one day, in many days. Step by step. Something changed inside him without a big announcement. No fireworks, no sudden confidence, just a quieter mind, more often, and a small sense of control returning. He still had bad days. He still had heavy evenings. But now he noticed the difference. He stopped calling bad days the truth. Bad days were weather, not identity. One afternoon, he felt a familiar pressure building, a tight chest, a fast mind, a feeling of being chased. He looked at his schedule and saw too much. Too many tasks stacked together. In the past, he would force himself through it. He would suffer in silence. Then he would crash and hate himself for crashing. That cycle was his normal. This time, he did something new. He paused and made one decision. He removed one task, not forever, just for today. He moved it. His mind immediately reacted. You're weak. You're lazy. You're falling behind. He listened, then answered calmly. I'm protecting my ability to continue. That sentence felt like a key. It unlocked a door he did not know existed. He realized something. He had been treating himself like a machine. Machines don't need care. They just run until they break. Humans are different. Humans need rhythm, work and rest, effort and recovery. He started paying attention to what drains him most, not the work itself, the constant feeling of being watched, the constant fear of not being enough. He noticed where that fear came from. It came from his old belief. If I slow down, I lose my worth. If I fail, I lose respect. If I rest, I become nothing. That belief had ruled him for years, quietly, but now he questioned it, not angrily, gently, like a person testing a story they no longer trust. He asked himself a simple question. Who told me I must suffer to be valuable? The answer did not come as a name. It came as a memory. School, grades, praise for being the responsible one, the one who never complains. He had learned early. If you are easy, people like you. If you are strong, people respect you. If you need help, you become a problem. So he trained himself to be useful, always useful, and usefulness became his prison because he forgot he was a person. That night he sat with his notebook again. He wrote one sentence. I am not here to be useful. He read it and felt resistance, so he softened it. He wrote another sentence. I am allowed to be human. That one felt truer. He started practicing a new habit, a short check-in once a day. He would ask himself three things. What am I feeling? What do I need? What is one small step? He did not try to solve everything. He only tried to stay connected to himself. One evening, he felt the urge to quit again. Not as strong as before, but still real. The urge came when he felt alone, when he felt misunderstood, when he felt like no one saw how hard he was trying. He sat on the bed and let the feeling be there. He did not distract himself. He did not scroll. He stayed with the feeling like a quiet friend. Then he asked himself a question. If I quit, what do I really want? The answer surprised him. I want relief. Not victory, not praise. Relief. He understood something important. Relief is not the enemy. Relief is the need. The problem was his method. His old method was quitting. His new method could be care. He asked himself again, what kind of relief do I need? The answer came in small pieces. Sleep, a slower pace, a conversation, a short walk, a break from proving. So he gave himself relief in the simplest way. He turned off the lights earlier. He made the room quiet. He lay down and breathed slowly. He said one gentle sentence. I'm not failing. I'm tired. That sentence did not fix everything, but it stopped the spiral. In the days that followed, he started seeing small changes outside of him too. People responded differently, not because he became louder, because he became clearer. He started saying no without guilt, not often, just when it mattered. That alone made his life lighter. He stopped explaining every boundary. He stopped apologizing for having needs. At first it felt wrong, because he was used to earning love with effort. But slowly it felt right, because peace requires boundaries. One weekend, he visited a place he used to like, a simple place, a small shop, a quiet street. He walked slowly and looked around. He realized he had been rushing through life for years, rushing even when no one was chasing him. He had been chasing a future version of himself, a version that would finally feel enough. He stopped walking and stood still. He let the moment land. The air, the sounds, the fact that he was here, alive now. He whispered something softly. This moment counts too. He felt tears rise unexpectedly, not because he was sad, because he was finally present, because he realized he had been missing his own life. He sat on a bench and watched the world again. People passing, birds on a wire, a couple holding hands, small life, real life. He understood something with clarity. Quitting was not the solution. Quitting was the mind's request for relief. So the real skill was learning to give relief without destroying the path. He wrote that in his notebook later. Relief without escape. Rest without collapse. Care without quitting. He read those lines and felt calm. Not excited. Calm. Calm was the sign, because calm means the mind is safe enough to continue. Calm means he can choose. And when a person can choose, they are no longer trapped. That night he went to bed and felt something rare. A quiet trust, not in the world, in himself. He knew challenges would return. He knew low moments would return. But he also knew something else now. He had a thought he could hold, a thought that stopped him, not by pushing him forward, by bringing him back to care, back to steadiness, back to himself. He did not become a different person overnight, but he became someone who noticed, someone who paused before falling. That changed everything. The day that could have broken him arrived quietly. No warning, a phone call, a short meeting, a decision made by someone else. And suddenly, one of his biggest plans was gone. He walked out of the room feeling numb, not angry yet, just empty, like the air was missing. His mind reacted fast. It showed him the old story. You tried. You failed. You wasted your time. The urge to quit rose like a wave, strong, clean, final. He could feel it in his body, a heavy chest, a tight throat, a strange calm that was not peace. That calm was danger, because it was the calm before giving up. He went outside and stood alone for a moment. The world kept moving, cars passing, people talking. He felt separate from all of it, like he was watching life from far away again. His mind whispered, "Stop trying, you'll feel better." He almost believed it, because quitting promises instant relief. Then he remembered something. Relief is real, but escape is a trap. Escape is relief that steals your future. He took one slow breath, then another. He named the moment. This is a low moment. He looked at the ground and stayed still. He did not rush to fix anything. He did not rush to decide anything. He gave himself time to become steady. Then the thought arrived, clear and simple. The thought that had been growing for weeks. If I quit now, I will quit on myself. He said it again in his mind. Not as a quote, as a fact, as a boundary. He understood it deeply. Quitting here would not just end a plan. It would teach his mind a lesson. It would teach his mind that pain means escape. And the next pain would demand the same. And the next. He would shrink his life again and again, until nothing remained but survival. He did not want that. He wanted a life that expands. So he asked the question that saved him. What is the smallest step I can take without abandoning myself? Not the biggest step, not the perfect step, the smallest one. He looked at his phone and opened his notes. He wrote 3 lines. What happened? What is true? What is my next small repair? He forced himself to stay with facts, not feelings. Facts are grounding when emotions are loud. Facts reduce fear. He wrote what happened without drama. Then he wrote what was true. I am disappointed. I am not finished. I am still here. Then he wrote one small repair, one message, one follow-up, one request for clarity, not because it would fix everything, because it would keep him moving. He sent the message. Then he put the phone down. He felt his mind trying to return to quitting, trying to pull him back into the old escape. He answered calmly, not today. He did not say, never quit. He said, not today. That was his new strength. He did not need grand promises. He needed a steady refusal, a refusal to abandon himself. He went home and did something simple. He ate. He showered. He cleaned one small part of the room. These actions were not random. They were repairs. They reminded his body that life continues. They told his nervous system that he is safe. Later that night, he sat at his desk and looked at the notebook. He read his own words from the past weeks. He saw the pattern clearly. Every time he wanted to quit, he was depleted. Every time he wanted to quit, he was ashamed. Every time he wanted to quit, he was alone. So he wrote a new personal rule. When I want to quit, I will do three things first. I will rest. I will talk to someone safe. I will take one small step. He wrote it slowly and carefully because he wanted it to be real. Then he wrote the deeper truth. I don't need a perfect life. I need a life I can stay with. A life that doesn't require self-hate to function. He realized something important. The thought that stopped him was not about motivation. It was about loyalty. Loyalty to his own future. He imagined his future self, not a perfect future self, just a calmer one, a steadier one. He imagined that future self saying softly, "Thank you for not quitting on me." That image made his eyes sting because it felt true. He whispered one sentence into the quiet room. I will not abandon you. Not to someone else, to himself. That was the moment the story changed. Not because the world became easy, because he stopped treating himself like an enemy. He became his own support. He stood up and turned off the light. Before sleep, he repeated the thought one more time. If I quit now, I quit on myself. He let it settle. Then he added a second sentence, just as calm. So I will take the next step. Not the whole staircase, the next step. And that is how he continued. Not with pressure, not with hype, with practice, step by step, day by day. If you are listening and you feel tired like he did, take this gently. Do not decide your whole life in your lowest moment. Give yourself rest. Give yourself a small step. Give yourself time. You do not need to fix everything today. You only need to stay. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. I hope it gave you a quiet kind of strength. If you want more calm, motivational stories that also help you practice English, subscribe and follow the channel. Your future self will thank you for the small steps you start today. And remember, practice step by step. Consistency is stronger than intensity. Just one small step every day.